NFL draft. Boy, what's your first thoughts? Well, I'll kick it to you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. My first thoughts are a lot of teams came out of this finding their needs, having great drafts. I'm hard pressed to find teams that had bad drafts. I know I'm going to mention one here soon, but most of them had great drafts, and I think it was great because I actually think because the QB class was so bad this year that teams didn't reach on players, and they drafted exactly where the needs were. The depth of the draft was incredible.
Yes. You got guys who are signing as undrafted free agents. You're like, how is this guy not drafted?
Oh my gosh! Kobe Bryant, cornerback.
Yes, that kid's a stud.
He's really good. Jabbar Muhammad from Oregon. I always thought when I watched that Washington team play, because he was at Washington before Oregon, that went to the national championship. I thought he was one of the best defensive players on the field. He was a great corner. He went undrafted. I think Isaiah Bond, the wide receiver from Texas, went undrafted.
The Georgia transfer, yes.
Our guy Addison West went undrafted. He signed with Miami. There's a lot of players. There's a lot of depth in this draft. A lot of running backs that I said before. Manungai goes, I think, seventh round.
That dude from Rutgers.
He's great.
If you ever watch Kyle Manungai, beast.
Taj Brooks, who was one of my favorite backs over the last 3-4 years. I mean, he's phenomenal running back from Texas Tech. He goes in the 6th round. The depth of this draft was incredible. I thought a lot of teams really helped themselves. I'm going to single out a few. The Giants, I thought, had a great draft.
Arguably the best draft. And to get Abdul Carter, Tony said. Tony Pauline, draft expert that we had on from Sportskeeda,
said best player
in the draft. A lot of other draft experts had him as the best player of the draft. To get the best player
to go and to pair him with great. That already defensive line, and then to come back and get Darius Alexander from Toledo at the defensive tackle position, who I thought was phenomenal. We watched that Pitt Toledo bowl game and watched that dude just wreck everything. He was great for Toledo.
Yeah. And the Jackson Dart one, they trade up to get their guy.
He's their guy. Right?
Yeah, that's the difference. It's their guy. And the other thing too is it at least shows that they have a plan, right? We signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, right? So we know we have 2 guys who can start at the NFL level. Are they elite guys anymore? No, by any stretch of the imagination. But we drafted a kid who we think can be elite, and that the plan is for him to watch these guys. So he's not going to he shouldn't get thrown into the fire, which Russ and Jameis are going to get thrown into the freaking fire. The Giants, I still don't think are that good, right?
No,
so these guys are going to get thrown into the fire, and so we're not throwing a kid like the Colts did with Anthony Richardson. We're not throwing this kid with measurables who's young, because Jackson Dart's only 21. We're not throwing him in here to just get burnt up. Hopefully the idea is that Dart sits at least 1, maybe even 2 years, develops, and they use his physical gifts, because he has all the gifts the same way Anthony Richardson does, to develop. And at least show that there's a plan, right? Like I said, you bolster your defense. You go out and get a dog in Cam Scatteraboo. That's a mindset, culture type of changing player in Cam Scatteraboo. And yeah, like him or dislike him, a lot of people don't like him because I think it's too much or whatever. But he's very much a rags to riches story, just like Cam Ward was. No offers really out of college or out of high school. Goes to Sacramento State, transfers to Arizona State, still has to work his way through the depth chart there. And if you watch that bowl game against Texas, essentially single-handedly led them to almost a victory over a bunch of NFL guys.
If you watch his All-22 film, so All-22 is you want to see all 22 players, right? It's from the top end zone look, and you can see exactly what he sees. Holy shit. Cam Scatteraboo's All-22 film is impressive. His contact balance is insane. His vision, his one-cut moves, that's a great pick.
Because the other part of his game, too, is he's an excellent receiver out of the backfield.
Yes, he is.
Pass blocking, I think I've watched him get burned a little bit. So that could hurt. Especially at the NFL level, you must be able to protect as a running back.
Which is why our guy, Manungai,
can do that.
I don't know. There's a whole highlight reel of Manungai.
Obliterating people picking up blitzes, yes. Yeah. But Cam Scatterboot, great receiver out of the backfield. He's an all-purpose back. The Giants just improved their overall team and organization so much, and we talked about it too. A very much ridiculed a lot of times.
Rightfully
GM,
so.
Rightfully so. GM, Coach Combo, and Babel and Shane, to have them come out and at least do this. At least if it doesn't work, it was logical in what they did.
Yes,
it made sense.
You can look back at this draft and go, I wouldn't change a thing.
They made the right decisions. Yes,
they didn't have to give up a lot to go back and get Dart. Plus, Dable. I don't know if you remember this, but Dable was the offensive coordinator in Buffalo with Josh Allen. Right? That's the Dart Allen body type is very, very similar in their physical gifts. That was a big reason why Dable has been like a huge fan of his. But moving on from the Giants, Patriots. Kamala, I know we were talking about the Patriots draft. We loved what they did.
Long snapper, which they
and a kicker, I think,
and a kicker. Yes, they didn't necessarily need
their first few picks though. God, I loved it.
Yeah,
they improved immediately with their first few picks.
Will Campbell, yeah, best lineman. It was Tony's best lineman he had, or at least who he thought would be the first lineman off the board.
Yeah, Travion Henderson, I thought was a good pick.
Shows the potential to be a dog.
Yes, Kyle Williams from Washington State, who has that clip of him just absolutely burning Travis Hunter. Jared Wilson, Georgia center, who
was the number one center.
All I was here was like, that's a steal at round 3, pick 31. Then they went Braden Swinson, LSU in round 5. That was a steal, and then the other ones were just filling some needs here with your Vanderbilt long snapper.
But and did they need a long snapper? Because currently their long snapper is Joe Cardona from
UVA Navy Academy,
the U.S. Naval Academy. Right? Yes, who's the longest tenured Patriot on the team?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we're gonna push that guy out. I mean, I guess if you're trying to
he's just trying to change everything. I thought their first few picks were great. Yeah. Vegas did. You want to talk about a culture shift? Their draft picks were culture shifts. Ashton Jeanty, you're not gonna pass up on him. Jack Besh out of TCU.
Yes,
that's a culture pick.
Yes.
A lot of their guys that they got, and then you go all the way down to round 6 where they picked Tommy Millott and Cam Miller, who were the 2 quarterbacks in the FCS championship game. One of them, Tommy Millott, is listed as a wide receiver.
Yes.
Because Cam Miller's also a really athletic player.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I've talked about this before. You see so many small school guys succeed at the NFL level because, one, they have like the support now. They're used to playing with guys that aren't nearly at that level, right? But 2, there's a work ethic and a hunger and just an ability to get the job done that you don't always find from the big school guys. So they're never, not that they're not great athletes or good football players or even tough or whatever, right? They've just never had to deal with it. When you are playing at Sacramento State, there are things you're going to encounter because you don't have the skill around you that you're going to have to find a way to win. And those guys that find that way to win, that's a non-quantifiable character trait that often gets overlooked. And you're right, that culture changing is what it is. You got Tom there calling some shots, probably.
Yeah. Pete Carroll wants to run the football, right? He needs his Marshawn Lynch and Ashton Jeanty.
And now think about the weapons you have. Remember who their tight end is, and Brock Bowers, who was a steal last year. I mean,
and you bring in Geno, so you have a competent quarterback now, right? Get Ashton Jeanty. The issue is
who's blocking for these guys. I think they took a lineman.
That's what I was saying. Yeah,
they took some linemen because I think there's some potential with I think Colton Miller is one of their tackles and the contract issue there. But that's
again, they took Caleb Rogers from Texas Tech and Charles Grant from William and
Mary.
Charles
Grant, William and Mary.
So they did take 2 offensive tackles back to back.
Yeah, they did a good job. The Seahawks, I thought there was a old school Seahawks draft, right? They bolster some defensive stuff there. The Jalen Milroe pick for the Seahawks I like it because he's got
the coach seats card. Yeah.
Yeah, the Gray's Able, fantastic stuff, right? So the tip of him, they bolstered some defense, right? Is able, I think, projects to possibly be able to play center, actually, which was a need for Seattle.
But yeah, and look at who their round 7 running back was, Damian Martinez.
Who's a boss.
He's extremely good.
Right.
Like the running back again.
And the Milroe pick is good because Milroe, as Tony said, has all of the most physically gifted.
And you get him in round 3. He's not.
Yes,
you don't have
you
to.
You didn't have to reach for him. You have to jump up for him. He's not going to play right away because they just got Sam Darnold. They have Cooper Kupp, by the way. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Seattle has, I believe, Cooper Kupp's on Seattle right now. So you got pieces in place here for that guy to succeed, right? So that you're right. That a lot of teams did
again.
There's
a lot.
I can
keep going with
to succeed.
Yeah, I can keep going with draft picks. The Steelers,
the Cowboys. Love what the Cowboys did. Yeah, they say reach with Tyler Booker, but no, that's a captain from Alabama.
Did you hear?
Oh, awesome! The best sound clip you'll ever hear.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
My favorite thing to do is to make guys hate playing football because I'm
to watch the love in their eyes.
No way. Yes, is the most like cold...
You have to replace Zach Martin, and there you go.
That's the perfect. I mean, the Cowboys, give them all the flack they want for a lot of other shit. They have been amazing at drafting linemen. Amazing. Yeah. Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Tyler Smith. Or is it Tyler Smith, the right tackle, I believe from Tulsa they got a year or two ago? All Pro Bowler last year, right? The Cooper Beebe, who's now the guard.
Oh, Cooper Beebe. He's the center.
Or center now, sorry. Was guard in Kansas State. They've been phenomenal at drafting linemen. So maybe they took him a little high. I don't care. If they knew this is the dude, again, captain at Alabama who has the mindset like that, that is such a boon for the Cowboys. Right?
By the way, you know who their running backs that they drafted were? Let's see, 5th round, Jaden Blue from Texas. Yes. And then one of my favorite guys from college this year, in the 7th round,
Phil Maffa, right?
Phil Maffa from Clemson.
No, I loved those two guys. Oh gosh, who was the 2nd round pick? Oh,
Ezraku from Boston College.
Who's a really good pass rusher who helps you immediately. Cowboys so happy with that they didn't.
Yeah. Again, it's hard pressed to find teams
unless
that did
you
not
want
do
to
well.
Talk about
Cleveland,
the Browns.
Exactly. So here's what Cleveland started out with this draft. I thought perfectly.
Doing a good job. Yes.
You get Mason Graham. You traded out of the pick. You get Jacksonville gave you a lot, right, to get Travis Hunter. You traded out of that pick. You get more picks in a very deep draft later in the draft, right? You get another 3rd rounder, and then you get a 1st rounder next year, I believe is the trade. So you're thinking, okay, great. Like the QB class for next year is better. You need to address your needs now. You get another 3rd round pick in a deep draft. I love this. So you get Mason Graham, who's an impact right away, right?
Their 2nd pick, great pick, is a former walk-on stud.
At UCLA, yes. And then you get Quinshawn Junkins, running back, Ohio State. Harold Fannin Jr., who's
versatile guy,
incredible Bowling Green, and then it fell apart.
Yeah, but and then it's like, what are we doing? You take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round after all these other teams took some QBs, and it's like head scratching.
Yeah,
because it's why.
But then you go, okay, I don't get it.
Okay, they're just gonna take him, stash him. They think they can develop him. They have all these picks in capital. They address other needs. Okay, not a big deal. But then you trade up to get Shedeur, who, I like Shedeur. I would love him to be quarterback on my team. We talked about glowingly about him. But one of the reasons I think he slipped is that the need wasn't there.
Correct.
Teams, like when you look at the number of teams that needed a quarterback, there was like maybe 4. You like Pittsburgh and maybe the Jets.
Pittsburgh decided there's probably 2, maybe, or probably 1. Pittsburgh probably decided there's 1 starter that we really want, and it's Cam Ward. Like that we look at and go, and we're not going to go.
Yes, and that's.
Do we feel like Jackson Dart's a starter? Maybe he doesn't fit what we want to do. Giants wanted to trade up for him. Okay, that's fine. And then you look at the rest of the QB class and go, well,
developmental guys, we're not
developmental. They could be a backup or whatever. I don't need to reach on any of them. Let's address all the other needs first, and then we'll go and Pittsburgh gets Will Howard in the sixth round.
You trade up to get another QB that you don't.
It made no sense.
Right? Because they traded up. The way it makes sense is that the owner said, "I want him." And if that's the case, this is straight dysfunction at the highest level. This is akin to when Washington took RG3 and then took Kirk D. Cousins in the third round. That Cousins pick probably was done behind Dan Snyder's back that he didn't know about because that's who they actually wanted. And RG3 was who Snyder wanted, right? This speaks of dysfunction at the highest level. That QB room, Deshaun Watson's hurt, right? He may not play this year. Play to the end. You give him a stupid amount of money, right? Illogical amount what they gave him guaranteed.
One of the worst contracts in the history of sports.
Terrible, right? You signed Joe Flacco for how many X millions of dollars. You traded Dorian Thompson-Robinson and I believe a third-round pick to get Kenny Pickett. So you gave up draft capital to get Kenny Pickett. You gave up millions of dollars to get Joe Flacco.
Bad.
I'm missing one. You've got and then you take Dylan Gabriel, who again is a reach. But if you say he's a guy of the future, well then why are you taking Shedeur again? Using more capital, using resources. The amount of resources and money they've wasted on quarterbacks is asinine. And I understand that QB is the most important position of all sports, no matter what the sport is. I understand that.
But you better have the right fucking guy.
Yes, you're not committing to a guy.
You can't just draft a QB and just go, well, it's the most important, so we decided to draft this guy.
We'll have 5 guys, and we'll let them compete, and that'll be good. We'll have depth in the position. The amount of resources you've wasted that could have been used to help your team.
Yeah.
That again, dysfunction at the highest level, in my opinion.
Again, it started out great. It started out so good. What my favorite part about Cleveland's thing is the draft grades that I know Kamlo has gone. He shared the clip of Scott Van Pelt talking about draft grades and how it's the dumbest thing ever because no one's played a snap and this is so stupid. It's just wait.
Which I get.
I understand that too, but you also have to look at it and go, well, this draft felt better than the others because they addressed certain things, and they got guys in positions where we thought they would fit or whatever, and they thought they were ranked higher. But Mel Kiper Jr. has the Browns as an A+ draft grade because that just absolutely embarrassing himself on ESPN with all the bullshit and has Cleveland with an A+ draft grade, and here we are. Maybe we're stupid. I don't know, but here we are going. That's out of a whole draft where it's hard to find bad teams, and we go. This team clearly didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
When he's grading it, is he looking at purely where you got a guy picked? Right, like Shedeur Sanders, first round talent.
That's a huge part of it. Yeah, I'm sure that's a huge part of it. But that's also he was just waiting.
Judkins could have went in the first round.
Whoever took Shedeur, he was going to say they had an A+ grade.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
No, right? if you wanted to take Shedeur, if that was your guy. The Dylan Gabriel pick is the dumbest pick I've seen.
Exactly. That's something you just wasted resources taking Dylan Gabriel. You wasted resources acquiring Kenny Pickett. Why not just keep Dorian Thompson-Robinson then? You just cut him.
I agree.
You wasted all these resources 100%. To get guys, and if it's and now you're non-committal. And I understand competition can bring out the best in guys. I understand that. I understand that we got this open thing where we have guys compete. It on some level makes sense, but on another level, football's different. It's the NFL. You have to have cohesion. It's easier for a team. It's not college. It's easier for a team to prepare when they go into from now to the start of the season. They know they have a guy that this is the guy.
Yes.
Right
now you have 5,
and maybe you want to do the Giants, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. We're gonna see which one it is.
Two
those
guys,
are experienced guys who have been around a long time, right? It's not that much different there. you're going to have all these dudes competing who are so different, right? There's different skill sets in all these different guys, right? So different. It's like when a college doesn't have a QB and they recruited all these different random transfers and they're hoping one of them is going to stick. It doesn't work.
Correct.
Right? It's, again, dysfunction at the highest level, in my opinion.
Yep.
But wish nothing but the best.
Yeah. Hopefully everyone works out and does everything. But I got one more with the draft because we're Virginia people. Shout out to Tyler Warren from, I don't know if you know what high school he went to.
Yeah, not Chickahominy, Atlee. Chickahominy goes to Atlee. Atlee High School in Hanover County, Virginia.
Yes. From Atlee, they actually showed Atlee High School during the draft. They had like a little watch party for him. So,
are you eating over there? You're freedom milk, can you tell? Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. They actually showed
what kind of bread?